Postgame Show, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app today and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. What's the problem, Vinnie Duber?
Sean is just attempting to make up for the White Sox run differential with volume, and it's not going to work, Sean.
You're spoiling my favorite part of the show. Welcome in to our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm host Sean Anderson. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. You can follow the show on Twitter at CHGO_White Sox. Vinnie, who loves music but has sensitive ears,
I don't have sensitive ears. I just don't. You've made it a game now where you're just going to increase the shouting, and I've yet to see a reason. Give me a reason.
I'm just thankful I got the warning ahead of time. I had his volume. Believe it or not, everyone listening at home, his volume was less than halfway down, and that was still as loud as it's going to be.
Despair is the reason. You can follow Vinnie on Twitter, though, at Vinnie Duber, and he was crafting up an article behind me the whole time. I heard him clacking away. So make sure you're checking out allchgo.com and his Twitter page as well when he posts that and after it's all edited and ready for your eyes. And the man in the middle is Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
You can follow him on Twitter at ActorWall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader, our producer, who thankfully did not blow your ears out.
Can't hear today. Yeah.
Is Stephen Nicholas, who's Twitterless. But we love him anyways, and he loves Jimmy Butler.
I do love Jimmy
Butler.
If
Giannis scored 56, would you be wearing the Giannis shirt?
Yeah, I probably would.
Okay.
I do have it.
Bandwagon. That's all
I'm
saying.
I'm not bandwagon. Greek. I'm Greek, and I love Jimmy Butler. They just happen to be playing each other.
Honestly, you were bagging Giannis Antetokounmpo's Greek heritage. Wow.
I am more Greek than he is.
He lived in Greece. He was a resident of Greece.
I'm actually of Greek ethnicity. He is not.
Oof, I don't want to wade into this conversation at all.
My favorite part of the show, though, is we are coming to you live after a White Sox. And when I leave anticipation, leave them waiting.
People
driving
like, what happened to the White Sox last night?
You know, people that they still don't know. I haven't told them, even though Vinny spoiled it. After a White Sox loss.
I didn't spoil it.
No, you didn't.
No, you did.
No, he didn't.
I said they had a bad run differential. They could have won 10-0 tonight. They still would have had a bad run differential.
It's true. I guess I spoiled it.
Now the person's like, son of a bitch. I'm not even listening anymore.
You never know. Hey, it's razor thin margins with this team. We are coming to you after a White Sox loss 7-0 to the Toronto Blue Jays. The White Sox, have you heard this before, had 4 hits tonight and 0 runs. Definitely not the biggest storyline of today's White Sox day, though. Very hectic, very crazy day. Where do you guys want to start? What's the most shocking thing that happened today?
Luis Robert Jr. went into the outfield with earplugs on, apparently. That was pretty shocking.
He also has sensitive ears.
He might not have any.
we are investigating.
The thing is, I would usually defend Luis Robert as he is the center fielder, and he's the captain of the outfield. Any center fielder is the captain of their outfield. But clearly, I mean, Vinnie pointed out right when it happens, like, Eloy is calling him out, and he's yelling, putting his right hand out and saying, I got it. And it's pretty much in right field, right center field. And then after the play where Luis catches the ball and they almost collide again, you can hear and see Eloy on video point to his ear. It's like, you got to listen, bro. You got to listen. And it happened again later in the game. And then you can see in the dugout where Eloy is showing Luis, man, look at this play. You're showing him on the video replay. And the Toronto Blue Jays broadcast had it. And sorry, we can't show it to you because MLB's dumb. Eloy's showing, Luis is like, dude, this is my play. This is my ball, and I'm calling you out. You're not calling me off. So for Luis to make all the great plays, awesome. 4 great plays this year, and he's been top-notch in center field. But for the next step to happen defensively, he has to communicate with his other outfielders. If he wants to catch every ball, that's smooth. I'm fine with that. But at least let your other outfielders know, hey, I got this, and yell it out wide. and let people know that, no, I'm the center fielder. You back off. This is my ball. And it doesn't seem like he's communicating that. At least the reaction from Eloy tells me that.
Well, here's the thing. A few years ago, when this was a... Go ahead.
Can we let's just fill people in who didn't watch the game.
Sure.
And then we'll go right into that point. Bottom second, Kiermaier hits a fly ball out to true right center field in between the two outfielders. Eloy merges on the ball. Luis merges on the ball. And Robert ends up making the catch right in front of Eloy's glove. Literally, they had their gloves pretty much right aligned with one another. The instant replay on the NBC Sports Chicago broadcast showed Eloy in slow motion calling, I got it, yelling, I got it at the top of his lungs, and demonstrating with his arm, like, I got it, back off. And Robert still ran in front of him, catch the ball, and caught the ball. And then later on, it was, I believe, in the fourth inning, and it was Guerrero Jr. Yes, Guerrero Jr. Hit a fly out to center, and it was more to right field, but
it was in right field. It
was
wasn't
in right
more
field.
to right field. It was in right field. Eloy was camped under that ball.
And Luis Robert beelined towards it and still caught the ball. And that was when then another discussion actually happened between the two, because the inning wasn't over. Varsho then ended up ending the inning. But that was, a part where Eloy then kind of had that conversation as Herb was talking about. So those were the two plays that we're talking about.
Rewind your brains to 2020 for a second. Luis Robert comes on, an incredible athlete, an incredible defender. He wins a Gold Glove for the amazing work he did in center field, and he's so good that he can play all three outfield positions at once, and does so. He steals balls from Eloy Jimenez, steals balls from Leury Garcia in the outfield. It is humorous, and not only that, but welcome by a lot of people, because here's Eloy Jimenez, who has injured himself numerous times by playing the outfield the way he has played the outfield. And a lot of people not only laughed, they turned it into a bobblehead, for Christ's sake, but they say, hey, go ahead, do that, right? But what did we see when that was happening? We saw those near plays. We saw those guys coming together and nobody saying a word, right? And Luis Robert grabs it, and Eloy is surprised and dumbfounded because nobody's saying anything to each other out there. Okay, Luis comes over, fine. You guys wanted them to get better at defense. You guys wanted them to improve. You guys wanted Eloy Jimenez to improve. What is he doing out there, you say? Why is he not getting better on defense? What's going on? Today, Eloy Jimenez played right field the exact way you're supposed to play right field. And on each of those plays, he did the exact right thing. You want him to stop playing in a way that injures himself. Guess what? He was communicating with his teammates and making sure that he was not going to have the kind of collisions that he had way back when in 2019, you'll remember, when he ran into Charlie Tilson in Kansas City and put himself on the injured list back then. Eloy Jimenez did what he needed to do to avoid doing that, and Luis Robert Jr. didn't listen to him a lick. He didn't do it at all. And Eloy's in the outfield pointing at his ear, saying, hey, you got to listen to me. You got to listen to me. And Eloy is exactly right. You guys will say whatever you want to say about Eloy. Not you guys necessarily, but some folks will say whatever they want to say. Oh, it's Eloy and defense. They don't go together. He shouldn't be out in the field. He did not have anything to do with those two plays tonight other than almost being on the bad end of them. If you're going to rip Eloy Jimenez for the way he plays defense that leads to him getting hurt in the outfield, you got to rip Luis Robert Jr. for playing defense in the outfield in a way tonight that could have injured Eloy Jimenez.
Yeah, nothing more to say about that. He was just so bad. I don't know. And at the plate, lost at the plate again. What is this, 17 strikeouts in his last couple games? Just, you can tell it's coming. And the pitchers are having such an easy time getting him out. It's 3 pitches in the first inning to get him out. Easy. And then subsequently strikes out later in the game. It's just, he's lost. As good as he looked for that good stretch of the portion in the middle of the April, this is how bad he's looked these last games. It's that frustrating thing where you see the potential. You see the greatness of Luis Robert, but it's never going to make its way to the top because he's lost at the plate at times. And it's more often than not that he is lost at the plate. And now the defense is struggling where he's not calling off. It's still struggling. That is
it's one bad night, but it's egregious.
Yeah, that's really bad.
It's ugly. What? Maybe let's go to this conversation, because I really don't say we can't say that his defense has been, what'd you say?
It's struggling.
That's
bad.
I mean,
yes. Before tonight, it's been phenomenal.
Literally last night we were giving him the Gold Glove. Right.
And
so
I
want
call
to
him out when he struggles.
Well, I want to frame it because we haven't seen this from Luis Robert ever. Like I don't think we've ever seen him be dangerous like this. I mean, you brought up those specific parts where him and Eloy were not communicating, and that's absolutely fair. But I think most of the examples you're bringing up, like the Tilson one, was Eloy specific, and the Eloy struggles. Tonight was not Eloy; it was Luis Robert, and I think he definitely had the captain thing about himself out there. But we haven't seen Eloy Jimenez in right field a ton. This is his second game since 2023 in right field. These are the first 3 fly balls that he's seen this year in a White Sox uniform. And the first 2 that are even hit in his vicinity, Luis Robert is making it his MO to take these balls away from him. Does that say more about Eloy playing right field? And that's the right fielder that's out there, and he needs to, compensate for the defender that he has been? Or is it coaching? Is it, not having, I mean, we've talked about Darryl Boston and how he still has a job. He's the outfield guy. I mean, are they still not doing enough to coach these guys?
But this wasn't an example of Luis Robert Jr. saying, I don't trust Eloy Jimenez to make that catch and right, so I'm going to yell him off of every fly ball.
Yeah. I would have been fine with that.
This was him screwing up by not communicating with his teammate. Because if what you're saying is true, then the captain of the outfield would have said, no, I've got it, and grabbed every one of those fly balls. He did that, but he didn't open his mouth, and because of it, he created a dangerous situation.
And I agree with Vinny. Like, once Eloy is yelling at you, if you're in the right and the captain, you're like, calm down. I'm the captain. I called you off. Now what? Go back to right field. And in Eloy, I've never felt like, okay, Eloy won't catch that ball that's hit in the air. That's never been my problem with Eloy. I actually think he's a fine defender, a league-level defender when the ball's in the air. I just don't like him being out there because he gets injured. But if the ball's in the air, the man knows how to track the ball. He can do it all right. If he's got to go for it like to the wall, then I'll get a little scared. But if it's
not hard plays.
Yeah, if they're in the air, he's going to catch the ball. You've seen he's kind of proficient in fielding the ball out there in outfield. So for Luis to take over for him and act like he ain't there, I would feel disrespected if I was Eloy Jimenez. They're already saying that you're not a good outfielder, and now you got your center fielder taking all of the balls that you're supposed to be catching, usurping you. It's like I would have a real big problem if I was Eloy with Luis, especially if he didn't call me off. And that's probably what he's waiting for. He's like, I got it. And if Luis says the same, then he'll peel off and go somewhere else. I'm sure he would.
I mean, listen, the thing that you guys loved the most from my coverage of spring training was that video that I tweeted out of them doing the "I got it" drill in the with the pop-ups between the outfielders and the infielders, and Eloy Jimenez was part of that in right field. I mean, he knows what he's doing. He is not a guy. He is not a guy who has a very nice history of playing defense at the major league level, but he's not like some guy who doesn't know how to play the game.
And he takes it seriously.
Of course he does.
And that's the thing is, like, the comments when he talks about how he is in the game when he is in the lineup and in the field, I think he's talking about he takes all parts of baseball extremely seriously. And I think that it just allows him to be more invested, more understanding of the game, more in a rhythm, and that's
engaged.
Why he's making that argument for himself. So then when your center fielder is barreling at you at 28 feet per second and you've been injured many different times, whether it be Charlie Tilson, whether it be trying to do a Luis Robert impression but getting hung up on the wall,
Vince Carter impression.
Getting caught up in the net, and Christian Yelich rounding the bases, whatever it may be. Of course Eloy is going to be pissed off. And I love seeing that from him where he is in the dugout and they're trying to work on it, right? I mean, you are at least seeing that conversation between those players. We didn't see any conversation between Griffall, Boston, Tozar, anyone in the dugout.
Well, they didn't show
it because you didn't see it.
No, but I'm just saying we did see at least the communication between the players. I didn't. You're fair to bring up that it could be off camera, obviously. But anyways, it was ugly baseball, to say the least. And with him now at the plate, you brought up 17 strikeouts in his last 40 48. I thought it was he was 4 for 44. James tweeted 4 for 40. Is he now 4 for 44?
He is 3 for his last 44. How many strikeouts did he have today?
2. So
2
seven,
with 17 strikeouts.
okay.
Yeah.
Pedro Grifol on putting Robert Jr. in the leadoff position. Quote, and this is from James Fegan.
And this is pregame.
I'm not going to take Luis out of the top of the order because he's had a bad 7 to 10 days. He's one of the better players in the game. He's one of the better players. He's done it before. He's going to do it again. I trust him. I trust the work he's doing. I trust the work he did today in early work. I trust the work he's doing with Tozar and Castro and CJ. That preparation, complete confidence in Luis Robert Jr., complete confidence. Do we have complete confidence in Luis after a day like today and after the continued struggles at the plate? I mean, will we see a change from Pedro Grifol after mistakes like this?
It's not even the mistakes. He's not a leadoff hitter. No stretch of the imagination. He doesn't get on base via anything but hits, and he doesn't hit enough to warrant that. Like Tim Anderson gets on at a good clip, so you could say, okay, that's my leadoff guy. Luis Robert, I think he's on 24% of the time this year because he's walked like 3 times, and his batting average is way down there because he's been struggling so mightily. You need, if your offense is struggling this badly, you need somebody who gets on base at the top of that order. Andrew Benintendi is more of a leadoff hitter than he would be. I would have Andrew Vaughn up there close to the top of the order. I would have Jake Berger at the top of the order. I would have people who actually get on base at the top of the order and batting more. Yes, Luis Robert could be your best player, but he is not right now. He is defensively great. Today was a bad day for him in the field. Offensively, he's been hit or miss, and it's more missed this year. Yes, he leads the team with 5 home runs, but that's just because he's on the White Sox. If he's on any other team, he wouldn't lead the team. But there's nothing
the guy
that
tied
Luis,
with him. It didn't make the opening day roster.
Yeah, the only thing that Luis Robert does, I mean, not the only thing. There's things he does well, and the one thing that he doesn't do well is walk or see a lot of pitches, and that's what your prototypical leadoff hitter does. So for him to be that rigid as Pedro Grifol, not wanting to move off of the leadoff guy is asinine to me because he's never firstly been a leadoff guy, and then secondly, you see the struggles are mightily, and you see the offense not doing anything. What do we say with Tim's here? Tim leads, and he's the straw that stirs the drink. Why? Because he gets on base, because he gets hits. If Luis Robert's not going to get on base or get hits or get walks at the leadoff hitter, how good is he? They're making him worse by putting him in that position.
Well, and would you have with Kikuchi on the bump tomorrow, Luis Robert leading off?
No.
Who would you have leading off against the left-hander?
I'm having Andrew Benintendi. He still gives you good at-bats versus left-handers. I know he likes to drop them down. Pedro likes to drop them down to 6 because he's a left-handed hitter. Give him more at-bats. You saw today, yes, Andrew Benintendi took 2 called third strikes. The second one was a filthy pitch. The first one, he should have swung at it. It was a 97-mile-per-hour fastball down the middle. I don't know what the hell you're looking for, but I think that Andrew Benintendi, for the most part, gives you quality at-bats. If you want to put Jake Berger at the leadoff, you want to put... I don't. Jake Berger's just as fast as Luis Robert?
You said the answer.
Yeah.
Andrew
Vaughn.
It's Andrew Vaughn.
Any of these guys. I would
remember-
have any of these guys over Luis Robert as the leadoff guy. I would have Luis Robert close to the 1 spot. I would have him 4th or 5th right now.
Can I take you back to August 25th? The White Sox are in Baltimore. Luis Robert is dealing with his wrist injury. Do you know who led off that game?
Lurie Garcia?
No. Andrew Vaughn.
And what did he do?
He hit a homer
Okay.
off Jordan Lyles. So, hey, I'm just saying, Andrew Vaughn in the leadoff position, it's worked before. Sorry, not to get off track.
Well, I think that in a vacuum, Pedro's position, I should say, are not wildly out of line.
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing that stands out the most to me is that it has nothing to do with Pedro. It's that here we are seeing Luis Robert Jr. look very much the same that he looked back when he was Luis Robert in 2022. It is chasing pitches outside the strike zone, which is a team-wide problem, which was a team-wide problem all last year. Not walking, team-wide problem last year. And the power, 5 home runs in the first 12 games, none in the last 12 games. Kind of a team-wide problem, just like it was last year. Luis Robert Jr. is kind of emblematic of what the White Sox are going through. All this talent and nothing going on here. We're going to get to what Lance Lynn said to A.J. Pierzynski earlier today, and it was a lot about how it seems to be taking time for the the revamp that Pedro and these coaches were brought in to do to take hold. The White Sox don't have that time. They don't. They don't have that time because this is a year in which they're supposed to be competing for a World Series, competing for a championship, which is, of course, laughable to most people as they sit here 10 games under 500. But if you have faith that Luis Robert Jr. is going to turn it around and you want to just leave him there and keep throwing him out there, go right ahead, Pedro. But the problem is that the White Sox put all their eggs in the basket of bringing coaches in to turn these players around, these same players that failed last year. Bring the coaches in. They'll work with them. They'll get them back to where they're supposed to be. And so far, through 24 games, it's a small sample size, I understand, but they are looking exactly like they did last year, if not worse. The record is much worse. Luis Robert Jr. is perhaps the poster child for looking the same as he did last year. I'm not going to sit here and say, what are these coaches doing? Are they not doing anything? Of course they're doing anything. They just spent an entire offseason, an entire spring, and an entire first month of the season trying to work to get this thing turned around. But it hasn't happened. And if it's perfectly reasonable to say that could take time to happen, but the White Sox don't have that time.
Yeah, you said spinning tires earlier. I think yesterday I said waiting for the jets to turn on, kind of like the spaceship falling in free fall, and then just waiting for those jets or the boosters to push them off. Right, they're still waiting for those jets to kick in. We might have a SpaceX tragedy coming up. I don't know. But Herb.
Yes.
I just want to play a little game real quick before you go into this.
Okay.
Vinnie brought up the chase rate and how that was a problem last year, and right now the White Sox lead Major League Baseball with a 38% out of swings percent, it was chase percent. I'll just use chase percent. That's a lot catchier. Jose Berrios, the starter for the Blue Jays today. What was again? White Sox lead Major League Baseball with a 38% chase rate. What was Jose Berrios' chase rate tonight?
38%.
38%. Isn't that funny? So yeah, we're not seeing any improvement, and even on the day-to-day, the game to game, the series to series, they have now lost another series officially with this loss.
And David, I think you, like I, and everybody else would look at Jake Berger and like, nah, that man can't run. He can. 85th percentile in the league, and Luis Roberts 89th percentile.
Well,
so it's not too. I know it's
but no, people. The one thing just with Statcast, like when you look at the player profiles and those red dots, like it would say his sprint speed is very close.
85th percentile,
right? Yeah. But again, I think that's a little bit unfair because right now, technically, Jake Berger is faster than Tim Anderson, but also there's stats that have burst. Right, so the top speeds of these athletes are different. Tim Anderson isn't running at his top speed, running his ass off every single time because he doesn't. Yes, maybe, but like Tim Anderson has more bursts. He has like 3 bursts this year. Luis Robert has 5 bursts this year. They're hitting 30 feet per second, which is an elite speed. Jake Berger is never hitting that elite speed. What you can say about Jake Berger is elite grinder.
No.
Grinder.
The sprint speed number is close. And like he was saying, they're not close. I'm like, they are close. You look at the bodies, you're like, no, that guy is slow. No, Jake Berger gets up, picks him up, and puts him down. So to put him at leadoff is not out of the question. Because what is Luis Robert in leadoff? Nothing. Well, I mean, you can't steal first, as they say.
Yeah. As I was just going to say, I think the point is not who's faster, it's Luis Robert doesn't get to run when he strikes out 17 times over the course.
And the White Sox, even if it is a drop third, they won't go to first. They'll be like, oh, what's a drop third strike? I don't know fundamentals. I'm going to sit my ass here or walk to the bench.
Hey, drop third strikes. We can now transition to AJ. You brought up AJ, so there we go. We'll take a quick break, and we'll get to your Super Chats, and we'll also hit up our sponsors. Hey, Cody, if you have a second, get over here. We got to let you know about our friends over at Pins and Aces. They're the official golf apparel partner of ALLCITY and CHGO. We love our Pins and Aces gear and get tons of compliments on and off the course because Cody looks so good in his Pins and Aces gear today.
And why is Cody not listening to us?
They're a family-owned golf and apparel business. They make amazing polos, hats, golf bags, and even our favorite beer sleeve. Cody, I'm talking about the hats, and you have a hat on. Turn it around. It's an innovative product that allows you to store 7 beers right inside your golf bag and keep drinks cold the entire round. Check out Pins and Aces and use the code CHGO to receive 15% off your first order and get free shipping. That's pinsandaces.com. Thank you, buddy. You're looking real good today.
Like they're wearing the same hoodie, too.
Also,
Go Padres.
It's 2-0. And it's NBA playoff times. They got the double screen over there. Currently, the Nuggets are taking on the Timberwolves. That means big hoop action with our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Get in on the excitement of every game with the touch of a button. New customers can make a $5 pregame moneyline bet and score $150 in bonus bets if their team wins. Plus, everyone can score a no-sweat same-game parlay every day during the NBA playoffs. Just open up the DraftKings Sportsbook app, opt in, and place the same game parlay on any NBA game. And if it doesn't hit, you'll get a bonus bet back up to $10. So download the app now and sign up with code CHGO. New customers can make a $5 pregame moneyline bet and score $150 in bonus bets if their team wins. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code CHGO. All right, here's the long disclaimer. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Massachusetts, call 1-800-327-505. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org. In New York, call 877-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Kansas, call 1-800-522-4700. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, 21 plus in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbooks for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. All right, we brought up. Yes.
Per James Fegan, who's up in Toronto, Pedro Grifol said Yasmani Grandal had a back spasm and is day-to-day. He said Grandal could catch in an emergency, and they don't think they'll need to make a roster move. We saw him exit the game late today. Stephen and Sean, you guys both saw him maybe wince a little bit on the check swing that he had in that seventh inning. A back spasm is the diagnosis, according to the Southside skipper.
That works. That was the only other note that I had on the game that I wanted to bring up. Anything else on the plays in center field on Luis Robert and Eloy? Anything else from this game, Jose Barrios?
Yes. Mike Clevinger is a trash pitcher today, maybe for his whole career or lately in his career. He had 8 3-ball counts into the third inning. He was at 71 pitches into the third inning. Like, you got to give your team a chance. He was walking guys left and right. I think he finished with 3 strikeouts, the home run to Jansen. Did not give his team any chance today to win the game. Yeah, fastball tops out at 97, but as Sean was showing, it was full effort 97, and when he needed to actually get a strike with those pitches, he wasn't throwing 97. He was throwing like 93, 94. And so he was going max effort on those just to show, hey, I got 97. But that was the only pitch really he was getting over. Slider was trash, and I think that's what Jansen hit for the home run. So, yeah, Mike Clevinger, it might be a short stay for him because this pitching will not do for anything because he is not consistent with his fastball. He's not consistent with his slider. And he can't really get anything else over the plate. So it was a tough go for my man, Mike Clevinger. Not my man, sorry. I don't want to be part of him.
Gotcha. Yeah, you got to just be careful when you're saying my man. You throw that out loosely.
No, my man, sometimes I mean, sarcastically.
Yes. That's the big thing is, I mean, he has one pitch, and I see Southside Sox being very nice calling him a 2-pitch pitcher. He has one pitch right now, and it is a fastball. And as Herb noted, he's overthrowing the complete shit out of it. And when he throws it in the zone, it's actually around 93 and 94. And he could spot it 93, 94. And I think part of it, too, is, hey, I'll throw 97 high in the zone, and
it's like a show me pitch.
That should get some swings and misses. And it does. But when guys are able to lay off of it, a zone contact of 88% on that four-seam fastball. If that is his best pitch, when he throws it in the zone, 88 Z contact, and that's another made-up stat for Z-contact. There's like 30 hitters in Major League Baseball that have Z contacts, or last year in 2022, that have Z contacts of 88%. That is like elite to make contact 88% of the time on a pitch in the zone. There was 13 fastballs that they made contact on. So whenever he threw it in the zone, it got smashed. And let's talk about the other pitch, the slider. Hey, how far did Danny Jansen hit that? Oof. I mean, mercy. So that slider is a bad pitch. The curveball is a bad pitch. He only threw it 3 times. He threw a sinker a lot last year. He showed it twice. But his fastball, four-seam fastball, as you mentioned, Herb, he was overthrowing it, not able to find the zone, and a called strike whiff percentage on that pitch of 17%. Oof. Major league average for an entire start over an entire arsenal is 30%. 17% called strike whiff percent says you can't do shit. I hate watching that guy pitch.
Well, Sean, and you're talking about the micro, but how about the macro, which is last time out against the Phillies.
Yep.
Mike Clevinger only lasts 3 innings because he has 1 inning in which he throws 44 pitches. He's out of the game 75 pitches in 3 innings. Today, he made it through 5, which is a good job considering the way the bullpen has been used. But Herb, he was at 71 pitches after 3 innings,
yes.
and he didn't have that extraordinarily taxing inning like he did the outing previous. But that's 2 in a row now. You're over 70 pitches after 3 innings. You can't be doing that. You can't be doing that. Not only are you putting your team in a hole with the runs, but you're putting your team in a hole for days that follow with the way that you're making the bullpen work. Now, again, I will compliment him for gutting his way through 5 innings today, for getting through 5 innings today at only 100 pitches. The 4th and the 5th, he made it a little bit more economical, but that is something that cannot become a trend for Mike Clevinger, because then every fifth day the White Sox are using 4 pitchers or 5 pitchers.
Bottom of the 4th, he got through. He faced Merrifield, Jansen, Kiermaier, Springer, Bichette, and threw 16 pitches. Got 1 out, and then Guerrero came up with a runner on first. He swung at the first pitch, flew out. Varsho, next batter, swung at the next one.
That was the jam. He was in the runners at the corners,
and he got out of it. Yeah. So really, I mean, if they didn't swing at those first pitch and kind of worked him, he probably wouldn't even gotten through 5.
Yeah.
So they were a very precarious situation. We might have seen 4 innings of Tanner Banks rather than 3 innings.
And that's what I want to give. That's the positive today. Tanner Banks, 4 innings of work, or 3 innings of work with the home run given up to Jansen.
Let's get back to the negative, because there's a lot more of that. Tanner Banks. We got Neil Kotz. 46 likes. Is that Neil Kotz?
No.
Hermison?
Neil Kotz is 46,
Polite?
right?
Is that Cliff Polite?
No, I think Polite was like 51.
Mercy.
I got to look up Neil Kotz's jersey.
46
number.
was Howery. I know that.
Okay, Bob
Oh,
Howard.
46. You're right.
Oh,
you were right.
thank you. Come on. I know my
Kotz.
lefties.
You know your Illinois State Redbirds.
Yes, if you didn't say it, I was going to.
We got now 47. So that's
Joe
Umber.
McEwing. It was Joe McEwing for a bit.
Super Joe. So if you guys are hanging out with us, please hit that thumbs up button. We do
Get
really
us to Mark
appreciate
Burley.
it. Get us to at least Mark Burley. We'd love that. But let's hit up the super chats too, since we got some, and then we'll get into the negative of AJ, not AJ specifically, but the AJ stuff. Matty Rice, we'll start off with him. If Jerry isn't going to sell, do we have any faith in Jerry to hire the right people to get this going in the right direction? We'll probably get into this with the Kenny Williams discussion a little bit later, but Herb, big quote from the Sun-Times today and Daryl Vince Gowan from Kenny Williams. Quote, accountability around here is not a problem. You talked a lot about accountability last year.
Stop it.
How do you
Kenny.
feel about that?
Stop it. Right. I mean, they pretty much blame the 2022 season on Joe McEwing, who's not on the team anymore, Frank Menachino, who's not on the team anymore, and Tony La Russa, who's not on the team anymore. Daryl Boston's still here. Accountability? We're still seeing the outfield mistakes. I don't know if he's still directing the outfield. Otherwise, his first base coach is that's all he's doing. He needs to be fired. I mean, Kenny Williams himself. What do you do here? You need to be gone. Rick Hahn, what do you do here? 10 years on the job, 1 1 playoff appearance,
2
in the full years. Oh. I'm not giving him the Mickey Mouse one. I would usually, but that season was even disappointing too. They got the first playoff appearance, or they got the first berth, and then they faltered down the stretch and had to play the Oakland A's in that first series, and they looked lifeless in that one, except for the Lucas Giolito outing, and then Tim Anderson being Tim Anderson. But
Adam Engel homered in that series.
Luis Robert hit one into the Davis.
Still gone.
That's also true. Yep.
That's where the possum is
but
nesting.
What do these people do? Like, where's the accountability? They're still on the job after a rebuild that failed. It's still failing currently. So don't talk to me about accountability. And don't talk to me also about Rick Hahn saying we got to pay back the fans or we got to win back the fans. How? Ticket prices are higher. The food is still the same. Like, how are you paying back the fans?
Lines are still long.
Dude, we didn't have Sox Fest this year, so where are you paying us back with? The record is 7-17.
Oh, I remember 50% of the offseason was the starter. They tried it out today.
Yeah, and that garbage is out there. Yeah, you're going to make us, White Sox fans, like, actually root for a guy that we detest, don't like. No matter where you fall on the he was exonerated thing, and I'm putting those in quotes. That man is a trash human, and you're making us every 5th day go and cheer for that guy. I refuse to. I don't want him to get hit hard like this, but every time he does, I'm like, he wasn't a good pitcher in the first place. And to set the market for that man in damn November is bad. And Kenny Williams, there's a reason why they don't put a mic in front of your face. That's garbage. We don't want to hear from you unless you're saying, we suck, we need to do better, we should be held accountable. I'm going to head in my resignation tomorrow. Otherwise, I don't want to hear from you, Kenny. I appreciate Daryl for asking him and Kenny for speaking, but your talk is not necessary, Kenny. Neither is Rick Hahns, unless you're saying we suck at our jobs right now. We need to be better. Us, we are finger pointers. We're looking at the thumb, not the finger.
A lot of quotes today. Can I throw out a quote for you guys, and we'll play. Who said this, or who's this about? All right, Rick Hahn said this, but who is Rick Hahn saying this about? Quote: "We know it's a risk. Now is the time to make some of these calculated risks."
I know what that's about. That's about Mike Clevinger.
Oh, would you agree?
I know he said that Mike Clevinger was a calculated risk, though I would have to guess that this is about somebody else.
Vinnie, look at you. You're a reader. You're a scholar.
Yes. So good on those reading comprehension tests in elementary school.
From former president, I think, of the Baseball Writers of America, Rick Hahn, on Liam Hendriks signing. Pretty risky. That guy with his great acts in the community, with his stellar, consistent play,
with being
on
the
the
AL
field.
reliever of the year.
What has he won more? AL reliever of the year or the Roberto Clemente award? Yeah, calculated risk.
Calculated my ass.
And you're paying him the same amount of money as you are per year as Mike Clevinger. Calculated risk. I just find that, because we talked a little bit about the missteps.
You're not providing the context at which those were said, but
that's fair. But both of them were quote unquote calculated risks.
Right. I believe at the
frustrated.
time, Rick, when talking about Liam, Rick was talking about the financial commitments they were making with where they were in their rebuilding stage. When he was talking about Mike Clevinger at spring training, he was talking about specifically Clevinger and the acts of immaturity, to use Rick Hahn's words, that he had shown in the past.
But were they overstepping by giving a closer $12 million a year? I mean,
No.
their payroll's now up to 180. They gave $75 million to Andrew Benintendi. They gave 72 to Yasmani. They gave 75 to Yohan. They gave 43 to Luis. They gave 42 or 43 to Luis.
Sure, but I don't understand why we're litigating this. Liam Hendriks has been fantastic for them.
No, but I know. But I just find it interesting that they describe both of those players or both of those moves as calculated risk, when it's just, I think, unfair. I don't know. I mean, just
again,
anyways. Yeah,
there's context, and then there's also, too, you've got to remember, Rick Hahn does a lot of talking. He uses the same phrases over and over again as
That's
well.
fair. Let's go to the super chats. Sorry to derail. Jack K, $5 to ask you, gentlemen, to give me one solid reason to watch another single inning of this team. Thank you, Jack K, for the $5.
I'll give you two words when we just discussed them. Liam Hendriks. I'm looking forward to that man coming back on the mound, hopefully at guaranteed rate. Hopefully I'm there in attendance to give him a standing ovation for what he's done, not only beating cancer, but he's a mensch. He's a great guy. And having one of those great people on your team, representing your team, being a great player as he is, I want to be there, and I want to watch him perform no matter what. And that's one reason why you should watch one more inning this year, if it's only that time where Liam comes back for the White Sox.
Well, I mean, you've got to follow along with the story to know what we're talking about, because obviously you're going to keep tuning in to CHGO White Sox. So you got to stick with the story. I
could give everybody one reason to watch. If you're just talking about specifically watching the game, especially one inning, as Jack Hay respected, May 12th, Jose Abreu returning to guaranteed rate field. You'll want to see that. You'll want to see the ovation,
video tribute.
The video tribute. Hopefully it's longer than Vince Velasquez's video highlight that Pittsburgh welcomed him in on. Hey, he's dealing.
He's out there dealing.
I think you're going to want to see the whole grandeur, the allure, the pomp, the circumstances, all of the good stuff, the vibes.
Make sure you
return.
Catch both the pomp and the circumstances.
Yes. Can't miss it. More super chats. We love you, people. And then we'll get to Lance Lynn's comments. Husky Bardo saying they aren't having fun 7 games out. road to 100. I think 92 wins for them to match the 2022 Cleveland Guardians win record. 92 wins for the Guardians in 2022. Sox would need to win 85 games here on out to get to 92 wins, which seems
85
like
out of 138?
Yeah, 85 and 53 would have to be the record.
It's possible.
For a team that has
A team
not
that has not won a series yet would basically have to win every series they play in.
Let's go, baby. Hey, a couple sweeps will maybe help that out.
Sure, right. There's margin for error.
Yeah, the best team in baseball is coming to town this weekend. Let's start with them for 4.
And what just happened when they played? What just happened when they just played the White Sox in the race?
Oh, they got swept by the Rays.
Right. Okay, they didn't win a single game.
Now
okay,
it's going to be 4 games, so it gets swept in more games.
Thank you to the Vedger family and also Ellie Stein saying Luis Robert Jr., Javi Baez 2.0. Javi was always aces in the field. And I know Luis made that fantastic play last year, but I don't think we ever saw Javi making plays like that defensively.
Oh, sure. He made errors and stuff.
Almost injuring a teammate, though, twice.
One thing I will not do, I will not compliment Luis Robert on a base running play that obviously the Pittsburgh Pirate messed up. Where, oh my God, what a smart play by Javier Baez. Like, no, all the guy had to do is touch first and the play's over. I don't care if Contreras scored. The play is over if the man just touches first, as it's fundamentally known. After that game, he literally got shipped out to Japan. He's still playing in Japan.
I'll tell you this right now. I know this is not going to find a lot of popularity amongst this audience, but I always thought Javi Baez was just so damn fun to watch.
Oh, the slides were nice.
The tags
were nice.
I mean, it's just fun.
Sliding
he can strike out. It might not be as productive as you'd like, but boy, that was fun.
Yeah,
in an entertainment industry, bring on more plays like that.
I'm a dork. When a guy doesn't lock in for every single at bat and really diagnose what a pitcher's trying to do to him, whether it's going to be a fastball high, a slider low and away, I think that guy's just absolute bum. You know, there's no redeeming.
There's nothing
qualities
fun.
at all.
There's nothing more fun and exciting than concentration.
Boom. And that's why Andrew Vaughn is going to arouse America for years and years to come with his dazzling play and command of the strike zone. We are out on Super Chats, but we got one more comment that I did want to bring up from Mini Dar, and then we'll get back in. DFA Abreu.
He's already gone.
I don't know if they just are talking about for the Astros because he says the stats are bad for Abreu. So maybe
he's not been good.
No, I don't think he's hit a home run yet.
Correct.
So him and Andrew Benintendi not hitting homers. So, I mean, what are we really missing?
I mean, it's a typical
Aloy in left field?
It's a typical Jose Abreu April. He'll be fine.
Yeah. Let's get into Lance Lynn and see if the White Sox will be fine. He gave some color today on Foul Territory TV. AJ Przynski is a part of that show. Eric Kratz, Scott Braun, and I believe Lorenzo Kane was also a part of the panel. And Lance Lynn
Don't forget the Todd Father. He's on that show from time to time.
Yeah. You ever see his batting cage?
The one at his house?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, it's sick. So when he has a shot like at his house, you can see it from behind him.
That's his backdrop is a batting cage?
Well, like it's like his office is kind of like elevated. So
he's got a nice house in Jersey is what you're saying.
He's got like a compound
Gotcha.
where it's like his garage.
He's the king of Tom's River, New Jersey.
Of course. Who else would be?
Adam Eaton.
But he's got these crazy like neon signs of all the teams he played with. It's very cool, like on the wall. You gotta look it up. It's very cool.
Love a neon sign.
Love Todd Father, man. We gotta go check on Todd.
I'm going down there. You take over.
Straight. What were we talking? We're
talking about
AJ. Oh, there we go.
Territory.
Lance Lynn joined them, Foul Territory TV, from his hotel room in Toronto, talking about how it has been to adjust to Pedro Grifol being the manager in the first, I guess this would be 23 games because they hadn't played the 24th game yet.
To be honest with you, we are in the midst of everybody learning a whole new way of going about things in this organization, coaching staff and everything. And guys are taking the right steps. Problem is it hadn't clicked. We've been in games against good teams and just didn't finish them, whether it's not scoring at the end, losing in extras, things like that. So the process, the way of going about things, preparing and all that is at a whole new level here. And that's where we're at right now. We got guys that are literally trying all new things and learning on the fly things all the way around. And then we've got guys who aren't playing up to their caliber. Also, me being number one, I haven't thrown the ball well. I've thrown the ball like shit, to be honest with you. I've had a couple of decent outings, but for the most part, I haven't been myself so far. That's got to change too. We start pitching a little better, start going deeper in the games, giving our bullpen a break, because we're absolutely abusing our bullpen, putting them in too many situations in early in games and having to cover too many innings. So starters got to go deeper, give the bullpen a spot, and we got to pitch better. And we start doing that, then the offense and defense can, kind of find their groove, because they're scoring runs. The problem is we've given them up, and then they're feeling like they got to press even more, especially with all the the new concepts that are going around the clubhouse right now, and people are latching onto them and doing their job. We just got to find our groove.
So obviously they haven't found their groove yet in game 24, but is it concerning that things are still being adjusted and that these adjustments haven't settled in yet?
I mean, I mentioned it earlier, and I think that, again, it's reasonable to expect the revamp that Pedro Grifol was brought in to undertake to take time, right? I mean, I think a lot of people would say, well, what were they doing during the offseason? What were they doing during spring training? It was very possible, you watched all of last year, that it was going to take longer than that to get these fixes made. That being said, the White Sox are at a time right now in this supposed contention window. They're supposedly right in the middle of this. I don't think they had this time. I mean, how long is this going to take? And again, I'm not saying that this is Pedro Grifol's fault. He's probably doing what the White Sox wanted him to do. But what the White Sox wanted and needed him to do was something that might take a long time. I'm just going to be hypothetical here and say, would it take long enough that they're going to keep losing and this season gets washed away as a year in which you can compete? Again, that's a hypothetical. This is baseball. We've seen teams turn around a fourth place start often.
I mean, Cleveland won that year 23 straight games.
Right.
I mean, I think you brought up James Fegan's article yesterday where he mentioned the Cardinals won 17 straight last year, or
a few years ago.
Right.
And I think it was both the Guardians and the Yankees at one point had a stretch of 23 games where they only won 7. And so, again, this is not unheard of. The point being, though, that if this problem was so deep, if this problem was so bad, that bringing in this new coaching staff to fix it is something that takes this long, and I don't mean like stopping tomorrow, I mean going into the summer, something that takes that long, well then you just lost 2022 because of the disappointing play throughout that year and the injuries in that year. Does it mean you lose 2023 as well? And is that 2 years out of the middle of this window? How much longer past 2023 is that window going to stay open? It's a lot of questions. We don't have those answers because the games haven't been played yet. But it struck me as very interesting to hear that from Lance Lynn, because you wonder, was this problem so bad that the expectations, not necessarily the ones set by the team, but just the idea that they could come back and compete this year, were those realistic if this was something that needed to happen, an entire overhaul where all the hitters are apparently going through all these new processes? Or is this something that's going to pay off big time come June, July, August, September? We'll find out, but right now we're looking for explanations. That sounds like a bit of an explanation to me.
And Lance said what I was explaining early in the year. Like, it is going to take some time to undo what they've learned from previous administrations. Now, they don't have the time to do that, and 7-17 is disappointing, and so I'm not excusing the team or Lance or any of the players for this poor start. But I can see the truth that he's telling there. If it does take a long time and they start playing well in June and July, I'll still get on them, because you need to perform when the bell rings in April. That's why you had Pedro Grifol here initially. That's why you had the offseason. That's why you had all the coaches in here. And if they can't get it done initially, to just squeak by a couple wins when you're not at your 100% peak. Like, you need to find a way in these games in April to find a win. Even if you're not doing the stuff that we're preaching as Pedro Grifol and his coaching staff are doing. I'm process over results guy, but also The season is fastly going away from you. You're 7 games now behind the Minnesota Twins, and the Twins don't look like they're about to let up. So they're not going to like sit there and wait for you to get better and sit for you to wait for all the stuff that Pedro and Castro and Johnson are telling you to do. They're not going to wait for you, and it's going to be way too late for the White Sox to strike if they're not going to take what they're doing and what they're teaching right now.
And after we had an off season of talking about Yasmani Grandal developing into a goaltender, are we concerned about this back tweak? Because you did see on the swing that he kind of grabbed at his back. He winced after the not swing because it was a checked.
Yeah.
But he checked up his swing.
That's what re-aggravated Moncada's back, by the way. Check swing.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was day-to-day. And then that was, we'll see. And then that was, we'll put him on the IL.
He's been out
and
for
now
2 weeks plus.
He's going to be, he's a timeline later than Tim. And with Yasmani's long back issues that have been recent, concern level for Yasmani? Is it unfair to have concern level for a player like that?
No, as you said before, back problems are always going to be an issue, and they're always going to be reissued when you do things like this. When you catch, when you do a check swing as a 35, 36-year-old man, it's holding all your body weight back, and they actually called him for a strike on that, which I don't think he swung at. But these back issues are going to be a problem for Yoan Moncada the rest of the way for his career. I believe Joe Creedy, I remember when he left the White Sox, had back problems and really couldn't continue playing. At third base, takes a big-time toll on you. Same thing with catcher. And so these things are going to have to be managed and looked at. I think Yasmani Grandal probably has a DL or IL stint in his future. This is the problem with the team that they have. They're oft injured. And this is the problem with the team that the White Sox are. 7-17 is because Tim's hurt. Yoan's hurt. This other guy's hurt. It is a constant thing where they're not getting their core players out there playing games versus the other team. And then when they do play, they're not playing at their peak. Like Aloy's perfectly healthy. Is he hitting?
Right.
No, that's what I'm saying.
And what was the whole stat last year? Whenever we saw Abreu, Grandal, Vaughn, Anderson, Aloy, and Robert all in the same lineup, or whatever the 6 were. I think Moncada, Robert, Aloy, Abreu, Anderson, Grandal. Those 6. Like, we didn't see those 6 players in the White Sox lineup at the same time.
There was one game,
like,
2 games, something like that.
Something
yeah.
like that. Yeah. And maybe if we're
And then,
completely
like,
off,
Tim,
like 20 at the most.
Yeah.
Like, we never saw them at full health. And here we go again talking about Lance Lynn mentioning we need to find a groove. We need to, settle in and let these changes take place. Well, how can you actually let them take place when you're not whole as a team? Like, we're waiting for Tim to come back and start stirring this drink, but like, do we have all the ingredients? I'm scared for this team. I am completely scared for this team, because if it is another wasted year, if they're going to 2024, we got 2 bobbleheads of Tim Anderson. I mean, we've seen the face of the White Sox, not only this one. We don't somehow have a
Jose, not the Day of the Dead Skull.
No, not the Modelo skull. We've seen Abreu, the face of the franchise, recently go, and we've seen Frank Thomas leave. Like, is Tim Anderson destined to be in a White Sox uniform? We see Brian Reynolds signed for a $100 million extension today with the Pirates. Now, the Royals, Athletics, and White Sox have not had a player with a contract over $100 million. Like, if they miss out on 2023, what does that mean for Tim Anderson in the face of the White Sox and their identity and their brand and whatever they're trying to set as a culture?
When I started Locked on Sox with Chris Tannehill, what he said about the window at that time is the window is Lucas Giolito's contract with the White Sox. Lucas Giolito's contract with the White Sox ends this year. So if Lucas doesn't come back with the White Sox, which signs are, it's still up in the air. He might sign back, he might not. But that is the window. This year is the window. And then Tim, I think, is gone after next year, or a free agent after next year. I don't know if the White Sox lose Lucas Giolito this year, and if Lance keeps pitching like he has been pitching this year, he might not get the option picked up on him. And, of course, Clevenger's been pitching poorly. So if those 3 starters are gone, yeah, the contention window is done. You because you're not going to get 3 premium starters in free agency, and you don't have anybody in the minors that you say, hey, here's 150 innings. Can you do it for us? And the 2 people you have left are Dylan Cease, really good, and Michael Kopech, which is a question mark. So this year is the year. This is it right here. And will they sign Tim? I would advise him probably not. He misses a lot of games. And this one, probably not his fault, and none of them are his fault, but missing games is a huge thing about getting $100 million contracts. Does Brian Reynolds miss a lot of games? He plays a different position, but does he? No. But that's why they pay him the money.
Right, and that's why Andrew Benintendi, like, he wasn't supposed to be the piece. He wasn't supposed to be the star of this team. He was supposed to be in left field for 155 games or whatever and play average defense, get on base, and not make mistakes.
And he might do all of that.
Absolutely.
Right.
Like, so far, so good. Hey, I thought he was going to do a little better than against Jose Barrios tonight, but whatever. Oh, you miss some, you lose some. Or you win some, you lose some. But it is on Luis Robert. We talked about his mistakes today and his lack of presence at the plate. You mentioned Eloy Jimenez as well. He was another player that they gave an extension that they thought would be the face of the franchise, or a part of the middle of that lineup for years to come. Tim Anderson got that extension. Looks like a great deal, but you mentioned it. Like, he might not be a White Sox for long. And Dylan Cease, I've heard enough ho-humming about how the White Sox and Scott Boras don't get along. When he becomes a UFA, they're going to not only bust past the $100 million barrier, the $200 million barrier, and go to the $300 million barrier to keep Dylan Cease around. I mean, how many times have I heard about them not wanting to give pitchers extensions?
Well, so they don't like to go past 5 years for starting pitchers, which I think is a smart move by Jerry Reinsdorf.
Right, but if you're going over $300 million, you're not sticking at 5 years. But the point I'm trying to make is, like, Luis Robert seems like the only player in the future, and this might be the future of 2028, that the White Sox finally have that $100 million player. That's when his UFA year finally comes up. They have all those team options run out. Like, I don't think that they're going to go out to free agency and go sign another star. That doesn't seem like what's going to happen. Like you mentioned with what Tanny mentioned, like, once Giolito's gone, this might be a completely new look for the Chicago White Sox in 2024, because Lance Lynn's contract will be up, Lucas's contract will be up, and they might need to retool and revamp. And hey, accountability might happen, but I got a question for you guys after the break about accountability, and maybe what Kenny Williams said earlier today, or just the fact that he even spoke, because it is weird, because if he's speaking, I think it kind of goes into what I'm trying to allude to, or what might happen is we might see a teardown or another retooling of this team if things go completely wrong in 2023, like they're heading towards now. Let's take a break, though. The lovely bobbleheads we do have, at least the Tim Anderson one over there in the Southside uniform, is from our friends over at FOCO. The set decorations, not only that bobblehead, a couple other Bears ones, Blackhawks ones as well. There's the Southpaw one over there, the Vinnie over there. I really love looking at that one. I always think of my good dear coworker Vinnie. I'm like, wow, he really lets himself shine when he goes to Guaranteed Rate Field, making all these kids smile and shit. I'm so happy for him.
And shit.
So get fitted in the best sports gear around. They got hoodies, shoes, signs, bobbleheads, and everything in between. It's spring and baseball season, so head out to Guaranteed Rate Field and check out Vinnie Duber in the South.
You want to smile and shit? It's Vinnie Duber.
You can go greet Vinnie Duber.
Am I a big smoker all of a sudden?
I mean, you're going to swear to kids. Yeah. Hey, smile. Kids, I'm Southpaw.
Southpaw stinks. But you can get dressed in aloha shirts, straw hats, polos, bags, everything you need for a game. So check out foco.com or click the link in the description below. That's foco.com for all non-presale items. Use the promo code CHGO for 10% off. Also want to let you know about our friends over at Shady Rays. Again, when you're at Guaranteed Rate Field, soaking in the sun, take on the sun with gear built to last. Make sure your skin soaks in that sun, but don't let your eyes soak in that sun.
Not too much of your skin, though.
Yeah, well,
that happened to me last year, if you'll remember, when we went to the game.
Oh, yeah.
When we had our outing, we were sitting up there in the upper deck when they played these same Blue Jays. And, oh, my goodness, I got the worst sunburn of my life. You too, Steven?
Yeah, I got it really bad.
Well,
too.
and he was hammered.
I was hammered. Yeah, but that's besides. I rolled up my sleeves and I had that very clear line because it was extremely hot out.
Oh, it was boiling that.
Yeah,
day.
Well,
I
and
need shady
also when
rays
you
for my
drink,
arms.
you get hotter. So you were
Is that a thing?
I think so, right?
Oh, that
Doesn't
definitely
drinking make you warmer?
I don't know. We're not scientists. We don't play one on the podcast either.
Nope.
You're a doctor.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Again, Herb told me don't look directly in the sun. So take on the sun with gear built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with warm weather ahead with the premium polarized shades at an affordable price. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers a world-class product that's just as good as any expensive pair we've worn. They have durable frames and extremely clear optics for outdoor adventures. And that's not all. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection in all of eyewear. So if you do break your sunglasses or lose them, every pair is backed by lost and broken replacements. Even on day one, if you lose them on day one, break them on day one, they told us that they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. Wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back long after your purchase, and they have your back after 30 days as well. If you don't love your Shady Rays, you can exchange them for a new pair or return them for free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back. So exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Go to shadyrays.com and use code CHGO for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized shades. Try yourself these shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. Herb, you've used Game Time before.
I have.
I need to take a sip of water. Did you like using Game Time?
I loved using Game Time. I went down to Atlanta last year, Truist Field, I believe it is, and I looked on Game Time, got some great tickets for Courtney and I, and then I was like, you know what? Game Time says they get 110% back the difference if you find a same seat in that section on a different site. And you know what I did? I found another seat in a different site.
Did you?
And I sent Game Time. It's like, hey, I found this seat. They're like, cool. 12 minutes later, got my $46.
Boom.
In my Game Time account, and I used it for me, you, and Steven to go to the White Sox game later on that year. So thank you, Game Time.
He doesn't even have anything in front of him. He's just reading from the dome, from the heart.
I'm a real-time
This
game.
really happened to him.
This is really happening.
real
This is his history.
Forget planning in months ahead. Game Time has deals on the tickets right up to the day of the event, just like Herb needed back in September. Get exclusive flash deals on deers.
Or deers, yeah.
You won't get any deer.
Get exclusive flash deals on
There you
tickets
go.
for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. So head over to the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHGO for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, and as Herb mentioned, up to 110%, lowest price guaranteed.
Wait a second. We have 68 likes. Who's the last White Sox to wear that number?
Jose Ruiz.
No.
No.
Oh.
I think you have it. Do you have it, Vinny?
I don't know. What number is Gregory Santos currently wearing?
He was a pitcher. Probably still is a pitcher somewhere, but Dylan Covey.
Oh, Dylan
Covey.
Covey. All right. Yeah.
Oh, 71 now. Any 71s? I feel like we're
Scott Linebrink?
Scott Lineberg.
It was line brink.
Nice.
Scott Line
See,
Sink.
You've been hanging out with Connor.
Hold the
too much.
line.
All right, let's go
Love
into
isn't always on time.
the Kenny Williams question.
The
that I
better
had.
Toto song.
Yes, it is. Much
Yeah.
better.
In your face, Africa. Not the continent.
Not the continent.
The song.
The
Right.
Toto song.
Yeah.
Or Rosanna, too. About Rosanna Arquette, I think.
Rosanna, yeah. That's got a good little bass line,
Yeah.
little drum fill. I mean, it's meet you all the way.
Dun-dun-dun.
Rosanna, yeah.
I think
I like that one. Actually.
singer-
That's going to be
We
my
are
vote.
changing our name to TOTO, White Sox Podcast.
Make the shirts. Don't make the shirts because Toto will sue us. All right, let's get into Kenny Williams. Sorry to bring it down. Well, just listen to Rosanna while we talk about Kenny Williams. Herb,
Yes.
do the realities of sports and the realities of the White Sox align? Kenny Williams' quote was, "I'm talking about the realities of sports. When you do not accomplish the goal at hand and you've been given the opportunities we've been fortunate to been given to try to rebuild this thing, to tear it down and rebuild it, and we were on the right track and right now the train is off the rails a bit, it would be naive of me to think if things don't correct themselves that we wouldn't be looked at as well." Again, do the realities of sports align with the reality of the White Sox? Is that actually going to happen? Is that an actual threat to Rick Hahn and Kenny Williams if things do go awry in 2023 and the future of no TA, etc., is real?
No. It's not real. Those guys will have a job no matter what. That's what I believe. Because what else is Jerry Reinsdorf going to do? Go to Chris Getz, a guy who I believe is underqualified for the job he currently has, and not doing a stand-up job. I mean, the farm system is one of the worst in baseball right now. You can blame him. You can blame Rick Hahn. You can blame Kenny Williams. But somebody has to be blamed. Jerry's not firing these guys. Why would he? How would he? Who's he going to bring in? Like, if it does happen, they're just going to bring somebody else in who doesn't know what to do and how to win a game. So I would be shocked if they lost their jobs. Actually happy, not that the people lost their jobs because, they got livelihoods, kids and all that stuff, but they've earned their dismissal. But I don't believe that Jerry will pull the trigger on that.
I think shock described Vinnie Duber when I walked in today, and I saw Vinnie again click-clacking away on his computer. And
is that a typewriter?
I said, "Did you see what Kenny Williams had to say?" And you didn't know the article was around. And like I made the comment before, like I'm not long in the tooth with media experience, but cut a couple years of tape at the Score, did a couple podcasts at Locked On Sox, been doing this. The Kenny Williams comments that I have heard since 2019 have been few and far between. I wasn't actually a producer until April, so the Machado stuff I didn't even see. Oof. Like, I've only heard him talk around the George Floyd time when they were talking about increasing black involvement in baseball.
Yes.
But nothing really specific to the White Sox. So were you shocked that Kenny Williams spoke today, of all days, to speak or make any comments?
Well, according to Daryl's piece, he was reached by phone. This was an interview that Daryl got with Kenny. But your assessment is correct. Kenny Williams' public comments are rare. They are few and far between. Since Rick Hahn was installed as the general manager, and more specifically since launching this rebuild process at the end of the 2016 season, Rick Hahn has been basically the sole voice of the front office, with the exception of the times we do hear from Chris Getz when it involves the minor league system. To my knowledge, that is about, putting out the voice, the one message, consistency. And from that standpoint, it makes sense. But let's not forget that Kenny Williams is a very high-ranking member of this organization, and the person in charge of the baseball operations department. A lot of other teams, those are the people who have the most meeting with the media. You remember when Theo Epstein was in charge here on the north side, it was him who was talking all the time, and far more rare were the comments made by Jed Hoyer, who was at that time the general manager. That situation has kind of remained the same as Hoyer has been promoted to Theo's old job, and I believe his name is Carter Hawkins has moved in to the
former
GM
WWE
role.
wrestler Carter Hawkins. He was the U.S. title champion for a very brief time.
So yes, specifically from a Kenny Williams' comments being made publicly, this is a rarity. I believe the most recent one prior to this, when it came to White Sox baseball stuff, was that day that Manny Machado signed with the Padres, and that was not even formal. Nope. That was it was Rick that was giving the formal comments that day as well. So, but listen, I am not surprised by the content of what he had to say to Daryl. I believe that Rick has said similar things. I think that I think that Kenny tends to speak a little bit more freely, right? I mean, I think Rick is very measured with his comments, and that's not, I'm not saying one is better than the other. It's just that seems to be how it works. So you might read a little bit more emotion into what Kenny has to say, but I think that Rick shares those feelings 100%. And I think I know he talked at the end of last year saying, listen, when we think that he tried to take accountability in terms of, yes, the front office deserves blame for what happened. Yes, Rick Hahn and Kenny Williams deserve blame for what happened last year with the disappointment. So I don't think he has dodged any of that responsibility when you talk about accountability. But hey, this is a discussion about accountability and consequences when things are going very, very badly. And I think that while if you were to go embark on this project, this rebuilding project, and you get to where the White Sox got in being AL Central champions in 2021, if you have back-to-back seasons of them missing the playoffs, it would not be out of line at all. It would not be unexpected at all for what Kenny Williams was talking about to befall some of the decision makers on this team, because that is a unthinkable disappointment.
Well, and maybe this tweet should be printed out and just kept around just in case, because on November 21, 2019, when Yasmani Grandal signed with the White Sox, Jeff Passan had this quote from Kenny Williams. It's clearly, I think this is a typo. It's clear we're trying to put ourselves in a window that could very well start next year, but extend to the next 5 to 7 years. 2019, that would put you in 2024. I guess 2025. Like, does that mean once the Tim Anderson contract is up, like that's when the original window is gonna end? Like, the White Sox in the ideal world 5 years ago thought it would be ending in 2024, possibly 2026.
The White Sox built their window on the extensions they gave to Eloy Jimenez and Luis Robert, and to a lesser degree, Yohan Moncada. That's what this window was based on. And I think you could have looked at that, right, and saying, all right, 5 to 7, that's probably, yeah, okay, fine. And then they took a crowbar and they said, we got team-friendly deals. This window's not closed until the end of these team-friendly deals. I think when you looked at those deals when they were made, everybody stood up and applauded.
Oh, yeah.
And now you've got those players failing to live up to their expectations, and it's a vastly different story, a vastly different narrative. But, you know, the window's not closed until it's closed. That being said, what did we hear Lucas Giolito tell me in spring training? They're out to prove that they're not this talented team squandering this opportunity. Last year, they squandered an opportunity. Through the first month of this season, they are squandering an opportunity. So they're going to write their own story. But, it's far too early to be talking about the close of a window yet, but it's becoming less and less early.
Still looking back in history, players with 0 days of service time who have signed extension: John Singleton with the Astros, Scott Kingery with the Phillies, Evan White with the Mariners, Eloy Jimenez with the White Sox, and Luis Robert Jr., the White Sox.
None of those players have lived up to those contracts that they signed.
Yet.
As yet.
So, and
Two of
it
those
seems
guys
like
have a chance to still bust out and be the players that everybody expects them to be, including themselves.
We're going to be back tomorrow. We'll be with you post-game tomorrow after the Blue Jays and White Sox face off against one another. Yusei Kikuchi will be on the bump for the Blue Jays, and on the bump for the Chicago White Sox, it will be Michael Kopech. We will join you after around 2:45, 3-ish, if the pitch clock is nice to us. Vinnie was yelling at it at the third inning. It ended up picking up.
It wasn't the pitch clock's fault.
No,
Amateur walking the yard,
Throw
going
strikes.
three balls counts to everybody.
But make sure while you guys are hanging out with us, we had over 200 people hanging out with us in this live stream. Make sure you're hitting up that thumbs up button. We really do appreciate everyone hanging out with us, commenting, sending in the super chats. We know it's a tough season, 10 games
Colas
under
right
500, but
We're at Colas right now.
I think we're almost at
76.
Jose Abreu. We were 3 away from Pito.
Get us to
76, I guess, is Colas.
yes.
Yeah.
No, he's 22.
Oh, he was 76.
But he
Sorry.
was 76 in
Sorry,
spring
my bad.
training.
Yeah, sure.
22 now. I forgot. Yeah.
We can
So
do spring
that's
training.
at
We go
Farmer.
deep here. We go do spring
So
training.
there is no
numbers.
76s ever in White Sox history.
No, 76 is a cool number.
Yomer Sanchez won 77 in 2024.
Thank you.
2014, sorry, not 24.
We will
I
see.
was going to say, Yomer's coming
Come-
back?
Finally. That's what we've been missing.
I don't know about you guys. I miss Leary. That's going to do it for the
Hey, they
CHGO
went
White
to 2
Sox.
playoff series with Larry.
Hey, does he have the most recent home run in White Sox postseason history?
I don't know who hit in the game 4. Somebody might have hit
Grandal,
one
I
in
know,
that one.
hit one, but I don't know if he hit one
Sheets?
after.
I would think Sheets hit one in game 4. Sad game.
Anyways, that's Vinnie Duber. You can follow him on Twitter at Vinnie Duber, and you should, because he's going to be posting an article soon, whether it be tonight or tomorrow morning on allchgo.com. You'll want to read it. Luis Robert related. This is Herb Lawrence. You can follow him on Twitter at ActonWall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. And I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. Thank you to confirm.
I was right. Gavin Sheets homered in Game 4.
Okay, there you go. And you were there.
I was there.
Southpaw's always at the games. And thank you to Stephen Nicholas for producing this show. We're at Pito Like, so we can end the show. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Go Sox.